The great renunciant Euthyphro and his dominating partition, which can still be seen to be um, totally in power. So uh, let's look at this through um, a recent comment of Tucker Carlson um, in his interview with the uh, Como, with the CNN host Como, or former CNN host Como, who now has his own show, where we have the characterization of sort of more right winger and more left winger in conversation. Carlson said there that he finds totally despicable this Euthyphro manner of putting the law ahead of family loyalty. So this got, I think, a little bit of pushback from Como, who's, of course, taking more on the Euthyphro side. So the point of issue originally is Socrates has gone up to court at the Areopagitos, or the court of Ares, or one of the main law courts. I'm not sure actually which court he came before, but these are sites that one can still visit. The Rock of Ares, site of where the how are they called? There's a name for the peculiar kind of ruler. Interesting name, but I can't. It slips away from me now. But in any case, Socrates was going up, not for his trial, which is so famous, but on another point under the 40 tyrants. So the period of the 40 tyrants is the period where the Euthyphro occurs, and then that ends, that lapses, and the democracy, in the sense of the ancient democracy, which basically means everybody really was bred to know that they were part of a family, in the sense that the whole polis could kill them if they wanted to, and that they were totally dominated by that family unit in that sense, and that they owed everything to them, and that these are warlike. This is a warrior culture, so we could see the level of that if it doesn't take us too far away from the main topic. In the not, as it is sometimes wrongly said, homosexual culture of Athens, but rather in the bisexual culture, because this is a feature very common to warrior cultures, because the reconstructed notion of it, and the interpretation of it anyway, is that in order to have the youth become a good soldier, the best way to be an apprentice is to have the maximum this lover relationship that Socrates and Alcibiades speak about. This is supposed to be the best way to create the next generation in a warrior culture where everything is life or death in this. And so the democracy, in a sense totally alien to us today, came in only after this period in the Meno, but it had existed before. It just lapsed during this period of the is it the 30 tyrants? I think it is. But in any case, the main issue after that long trotting around, but hopefully there's something that got us into the mood for this situation, because it's not happening today, but it's happening under totally alien conditions, and yet it's still somehow the decision made then has come down to us. Euthyphro reports to Socrates that his gods, his theoi, tell him that he did the right thing in bringing a cause of action against his father. So the reason he's bringing a cause of action against his father, it reminds me a little bit of that thing with Will Smith, like lately with some lawyers were saying, okay, Smith hit this comedian on stage, everybody saw it, and somebody could take the charge on behalf of the community, right? So I think it's Chris Rock didn't want to make a charge out of it, so it was dropped, but somebody could have taken it on behalf of the whole Hollywood community, because they would say, we want everybody to self-domesticate and have no more adrenaline, and there would be no chance. We wanted them to be like those deer on that island in Japan, they would have to be totally self-domesticated, and that would be the goal of always taking charges, even if somebody doesn't press the charge and something like that. So in the same way, Euthyphro is saying somebody should take the charge, even if that somebody has to be the relative of the person. So this is what Tucker Carlson was so despising from a moral position. So it's a very moral position. I'm not saying it's a good position. I'm saying it's very moral in its quality, in the sense that it really despises the person that doesn't share the same sentiment, which may be a completely stupid sentiment. But the point is, it has a different quality than something somebody came to because they reasoned it through. But it's rather this Tucker Carlson takes for granted that this is the natural way. One takes one's families first, and so on. So Euthyphro, his father, just to give the detail, is there was a remote plantation. There weren't police stations anyway at the time. There was a servant or slave. So they used to use the term, and maybe they still use the term servant in England. I don't know. Usually people say now like service people instead of servants, which would have been said 100 years ago. And that word is related to the word service or slave in Latin. So I'm not too sure that we're right to say this person was a slave. Is the reason I went through all that in the sense of in the antebellum South, but chained and whipped and all that kind of thing. But there were servants, at least, maybe more than that. So a slave or servant had committed a murder, and then Euthyphro's father had tied him up because there's no prison around there, and they went to go a long way to the center of Athens, and in the meanwhile the guy died of exposure to the cold. And so Euthyphro thinks now he has to take his father to account for being remiss about for letting the man die under those circumstances. So Socrates thinks, at least he says, although one has the impression somehow that Plato's cloven hoof is behind this, that Socrates is kind of laughing. He says that that he's shocked by Euthyphro's act, and then this is the occasion for them to start the discussion about Euthyphro's knowledge of the holy, or of what the gods want. So we could see on one side of this the beginning of the whole project to go from theoi, or many gods who had Saturnalia and festivals, and at the beginning of the Republic, even Socrates is going to one of them, to the Bendis, Thracian Bendis has some kind of pavilion showing. You think of the kind of things you see in India with sometimes in the center of a street divide there'll be some kind of small temple to elephant god or something, whatever it is. And Euthyphro is still dealing with this panoply of theoi who have these different cults and different festivals around them. And Socrates is saying, well, no, wait a second. Instead of celebrating these wild festivals, why don't we be pious and bow to the one God and his will? So Socrates is the first to combine all the theoi by saying it's contradictory that the God should have all these different multiple views. Instead, there should be one view. So it's Euthyphro is in the middle of this. I won't say that what Socrates does is exactly on one side or the other of the Tucker Carlson side or the more open side, but the notion that there's only one right way seems to stem in some way from this notion that there's only the contradictions have to all between the different deities have to be somehow terminated. So okay, that's just some reflection. And okay, well, let's make sure that it's more clear, because let's say the idea of international human rights, of the rights that are become a big deal since World War II, but have been mostly used as a tool for one part of the world to accuse other parts of the world of not living up to the universal or the one non-contradictory set of laws. That all, of course, is known to some extent, but it's also, I think, to dramatize it in the light of the Euthyphro, I think, is somewhat helpful, because we see how this, which Nietzsche called like this most dangerous, most magnificent thing, I think, in my opinion, so this great contradistinction to what would hear in the general talk, I think mostly Nietzsche has been almost in awe of resentment, the power of resentment, because he thinks this is the most dangerous power, and he admires the danger of it, because the way it worked is, according to Nietzsche, Socrates, through making these decisions, did the thing that shouldn't happen, is the theoretical man, in his resentment against the way things happen in the real world, overturned it, so that this is the danger. This is why Socrates is dangerous, but at the same time he exposed himself to the maximum of danger, and of course was executed, but his idea survived, right? Yeah, in similar ways, so we see that in Daria Dugin, for instance. So at least under the in the charmed circle of her parents, her father has been part of this danger, the danger of the genuine philosophy, which exposes itself to danger and therefore becomes dangerous itself.